Say it again, High Consul Tevrak demanded, eyes twitching behind the blue glass visor of the Imperial throne spire. The comms officer did. Quieter this time. It's human. Silence fell. That kind of silence only happens in palaces built on war when something shows up that shouldn't. Impossible, Tevrak growled. We broke the last Terran border incursion cycles ago. No ship of theirs would dare breach the sector wall. The officer hesitated, understand. Sir, but the data doesn't care. On the hologrid between them, a single image remained static, a black warship unkempt, asymmetrical, faint with energy scars, no call sign, no faction. It didn't glow. It loomed. And it was headed straight for Calder's Reach. The heart of this Sodafa Empire. In the shadows of Command Sector 9, General Ractus watched the feed on loop, over again. Why now? He whispered. No answer. He leaned forward and slowed the playback to a crawl. Frame by frame, and there it was. At second 34. The ship blinked. Not its lights. Its shape, like it adjusted itself around the camera's expectations, warping subtly. Wrong. Not cloaked. Not hidden. Just uninvited. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, the arguing began. The Terrans can't reach this far without a relay gate, said one admiral, fists clenched. They don't use gates, said another. They brute force their jumps through raw gravity. Brute force? What? Kind of suicidal. They don't die like we do. That sentence silenced the room. The Valari ambassador finally muttered, perhaps we should contact them. Ask their intentions. Ask? Tevrak snapped. SK? A human warship enters our throne sector without comms, without IFF, and... You want to send a letter? It hasn't fired. Someone said yet. No one said the second word, but everyone felt it. Back on the outer edge of Calder's Reach, a fleet scrambled. 53 vessels locked coordinates, targeted every weapon they had. The human warship didn't respond, didn't flinch, didn't slow down. Instead, it broadcasted something unexpected. Not a threat, not even a message. A tone. 4 notes. Slow. Melancholy. Ancient Terran music, transmitted at planetary volume across every channel. One technician fell to his knees, hands over his ears. Another wept without knowing why. On the flagship, Ractus whispered, It's a funeral song. What the void is going on? Tevrak barked. Is it a ship or a monument? No one answered. Because something had shifted. In the vacuum, the ship stopped. Dead halt. No momentum loss. No inertia buffers fired. It just ceased moving and began to rotate. Face first toward the heart of the Empire, toward them. Sir, said the youngest aide in the chamber, voice cracking. Should we fire? Tevrak opened his mouth. Paused. Then saw it on the hull. Barely visible. A name etched in pitted metal, TSV Nomad, and underneath it, we never left. The chamber went cold. As if the Empire itself remembered something it shouldn't. A war. A silence. A planet they never found again. And now, the ghost of it, staring back. They thought it was mercy, Tevrak whispered, and then louder. Scramble everything. Sir? Everything. He slammed his fist on the console. No more debates. No more messages. That ship crossed a line now. We show them what it means to enter our house. Back in the void, the Nomad drifted still. Its lights dim, its weapons cold. But inside, someone was watching. A single Terran voice, low and calm, echoed in the silent bridge. You ask what happened to Earth. A pause. Now you'll remember why you buried the answer. They asked where Earth had gone. Now they're asking why it came back. They thought it was over. It wasn't. And that was before Earth even responded. Proximity field breach in 200 clicks. barked a tactical officer aboard the Imperial. Flagship Virex Ultima. Still no scan returns. Still no reply. Run the M-sweep again, growled Admiral Coral, pacing along the command pit, claws tapping steel. Every damn band. I want to know if this ship even breathes before it gets closer. The war room buzzed. 53 ships tactically. Perfect. Sector stretched, encircling the Ghost like a trap made of steel and pride-held position. And yet the Nomad didn't blink. No engines. No life signs. No visible shields. Just quiet drift. But it wasn't aimless. It was aligned with Calder's Reach. The Imperial Palace planet, aligned like a hunter sighting through a scope. Inside the throne chamber of Calder's Reach, High Consul Tevrek's jaw trembled. Where's the predictive model? He barked. What happens if it reaches atmosphere? One of the holograph analysts, sweating beneath his neural implants, spoke without raising his eyes. We don't know. Sir, you don't know? We've tracked everything from Dominion spores to Rogue Terran A is for 5 cycles, and you can't model one ship? We don't have the logic base, the analyst croaked. The ship, it doesn't behave like ours. Or theirs. It's not transmitting telemetry. It doesn't have an anchor relay. It shouldn't be here. Tevrek leaned in slowly, and yet, inside the Nomad, the lights were low. Amber systems pulsed faintly, residual power looping through a ship that didn't need energy to move. Not anymore, because the Nomad ran on something older. Older than ion cells. Older than protocols. It ran on a name, designation, TSV Nomad, Earth Home Fleet 3rd Ghost Division. Status, excommunicated. Memory core, 89% recovered. Awakening sequence, active. A single human sat on the command throne, boots up, breathing slow. Captain Ilya Miras. He looked more like a gravekeeper than a soldier. His beard was short, uneven. His eyes were scarred, not blind, but burnt. He didn't speak, didn't need to. The ship whispered for him. Contact imminent. He tapped the screen. Play it. The console flickered, then hummed. A voice emerged. Not his. Older. Female. Human. Cold. Playback from 312 years ago. To all empires, councils, coalitions, and clans. If you find this ship, remember Earth never agreed to peace. We just stopped talking. At the edge of Calder's Reach, the Empire's fleet began to shift. Tactical formations pulled tighter. Weapons aligned. Power surges lit up the void like angry veins. Final warning. Admiral Coral growled, speaking through all bands. Identify. Your vessel, cease approach, or be fired upon. Silence. Then, we already did. It was a whisper. No language delay. Just a voice that sounded like it had come from deep underground, not a ship. The message repeated. We already did. Sir, projectile lock, wait. Before the sentence finished, every ship's internal sensors lit up. But not because of weapons, because of data. Nomad had injected a memory packet across all channels, a flood of visuals, grainy footage. Earth. Soldiers holding children in burning cities. Council operatives torturing captured humans. Treaties signed, then broken by alien hands. And one final frame. You asked us to forget. But we archived everything. Coral stepped back from the console. That can't be real, he muttered. We signed peace accords. Earth agreed. No, said one of his junior officers. Earth withdrew. That's not the same. The Admiral's lips curled. It's a bluff. Then why does it feel like a warning? On Calder's Reach, High Consul Tevrek was shouting again. Fire, now, before it crosses the line. A dozen sub-commanders gave the order. 53 ships. Launched in sync, missiles, rail shots, fusion bolts. All aimed at the unshielded Nomad. The void screamed. Then silence. The missiles didn't explode. They didn't reach the ship. They simply stopped. Not destroyed. Just floating, like time folded around them. And in that moment, a new signal burst across the entire system. Earth protocol, unknown language, Terran primitive message. To the Empire of Calder, we bring no war, but we remember yours, and underneath that, step forward again, and you'll remember ours. Coral stared in horror as his weapons went cold. Reboot systems now? No response? Emergency protocols? Non-functional. Who has this kind of override? Then came a voice from the bridge AI, the kind of species that doesn't knock. Back inside the Nomad, Captain Miras opened the sealed chamber. It wasn't for weapons. It was for witnesses. Cryopods, dozens of them. Human. Some old. Some young. Each labeled. Each carrying stories the Empire erased. This ship didn't carry soldiers. It carried evidence. We're not here to fire, he whispered. We're here to remind. He triggered the beacon. A deep space burst. It didn't go to Earth. It didn't go to the Empire. It went everywhere. And every species who once laughed at humanity's disappearance. They got the message. Across the galaxy, governments froze, old enemies turned silent, even pirates locked down their fleets, because something had returned, and it didn't ask permission. Back in the throne room, Tevrak trembled. We need to open negotiations, he said. No, his intelligence minister said softly. We need to open archives. He looked up, pale. We never told our people what really happened when Earth went silent. And now, he said slowly, they know. They asked why a human ship was in their sector. They thought it was a breach. It wasn't. It was a message. And Earth hadn't responded yet. The Nomad wasn't their reply. It was just their memory. And it had arrived. Commander Vale Sharon stood alone inside the underground crypt vault of Calder's Reach. Not military. Not religious. Just forgotten. Old stone, wrapped around polished steel plates, led to a chamber. With one seal on the wall. No passcode. Just a carving, a ship, a shape. The same jagged prow and bent chassis as the one floating silently above the throne world. He blinked. No, he muttered. It's impossible. The inscription beneath it didn't lie. The ship that never returned. The storm we buried in silence. In orbit, the Nomad still hadn't moved. It didn't fire, didn't flee. But every second it remained, the Empire unraveled faster. Power stations began overcharging. Civilian shuttles refused launch commands. Even the atmospheric relays pulsed with glitches, blinking the same phrase in Old Terran. We never left. Admiral Coral was screaming, I want every comms relay disabled. If we can't kill the ship, we cut off its reach. Too late, someone whispered. Coral snapped toward the officer. What? The screen changed. One system over Thalos Prime. Population 12 million. Every digital screen went black. Then one word appeared. Earth. Inside the Nomad, Captain Ilya Miras watched his HUD bloom with alert pings. The virus was working, but it wasn't malware. It was history. Broadcasts, centuries suppressed, now unfurled like red flags. Footage of the Empire's betrayal during the Treaty of Pelin. The mass deletion of Earth's ambassadors. The orbital blockade that starved entire Terran colonies before the withdrawal. You erased U.S., Ilya whispered, so we gave you silence. A voice chimed in the bridge. Athena, the ship's AI, and now they ask why we came back. Calder's Reach began to riot. Not because of fear, because of memory. The citizens hadn't seen this footage in centuries. Some thought Earth had collapsed. Others believed the stories about Terran aggression. But this was evidence. And worst of all, familiar. One merchant, middle-aged, feathers graying, stood at his market stall, watching the nomad hang above the sky. "I saw that ship," he whispered to no one. 40 years ago. People around him froze. "You what?" "I was on Zalfor, that planet that died from solar instability. But there was no instability." He looked up. There was just a ship. And then the sky screamed. Inside the Imperial Council, someone finally snapped. Minister Avlor, one of the original signatories of the Pelin Treaty, stood with shaking hands. "We buried it," he whispered. "We buried everything," Tevrak hissed. "You said Earth withdrew." "They did," Avlor snapped, "but not out of weakness." He pointed toward the holoscreen. "They left because they were done talking." Ilya Miras stepped away from the command chair. He walked down the central hallway, past cryopods and sealed archive crates. Each carried one thing, proof, and one thing more dangerous. Names. He tapped a crate. It hissed open. Inside lay an artifact, not a weapon. A uniform. Old, worn, patched in places with sigils no longer used. Terran. Peace Corps. Diplomatic wing. The last ones who tried to stop the war and who were executed on the spot by the Empire for unauthorized cultural interference. "Sir," Athena said, "planetary shields initiating." Ilya raised an eyebrow. "Let them." Calder's planetary shield flickered online golden, crackling across the stratosphere, a symbol of imperial pride, of control, and within seconds, the nomad was inside it. Everyone on the throne world froze. How is it inside the shield?" Coral screamed. "Sir," said his aide, pale and trembling, "we didn't let it in." "Then who did?" Athena answered, "They did." Screens across Calder lit up. Each citizen's biotag had triggered the override. Signal. Unconsciously. The ship had passed through on the memory of the people who watched it in silence. Decades ago, they remembered, and the ship answered. TVRAK finally snapped. "Fire everything." "I don't care how." "Load ancient plasma shells." "Detonate the shield core if you must." No one moved because the weapons were offline, not sabotaged. Just pause. By every AI protocol Earth helped design centuries ago when it taught the galaxy how to code sentient networks. The Empire didn't rebuild those systems, they just renamed them. The Nomad's front hull opened. Not for weapons, for a broadcast. Hologram appeared over the throne city. Not Ilya. Her. Captain Lena Voss, dead 214 years. Up. Final recorded message before she entered. Cryosleep now auto-deployed on system access. To the people of the Calder Empire. We never came to conquer. We came to stop bleeding. You taught us something. Silence can be louder than war. You asked where Earth went. She smiled, tired. We went inside ourselves. And when we came back, we brought the things you asked us to forget. Ilya turned away from the hologram, eyes focused. Athena spoke again. "Response?" "None," he said. "Not yet." From a nearby station, a single Empire ship broke formation. It approached the Nomads slowly, broadcasting a private line. "This is Commander Ultrix Vorn of the Indomitable Spear. I fought you during the Pelin campaign." No reply. He continued, "I thought you were monsters. But my daughter just watched your footage, and she asked me one question. Why didn't we say sorry?" The channel paused. And for the first time, Ilya spoke. "Because you weren't ready." Down on Calder's Reach, thousands of civilians began kneeling in silence. No one told them to, but they felt it. This wasn't an invasion. It was an unveiling. And Earth wasn't asking for anything. It was just showing them what they buried. The Nomad dimmed its lights. Its message was complete. It hadn't come to speak. It had come to remind. And now it waited. Not for an answer, for a choice. They saw the warship. Then the footage. Then the names. They thought it was a threat. It wasn't. It was the memory they tried to burn, and it was still here, still watching, still waiting, because the ship was never gone. Emperor Torith Vex stood at the apex of the ascendant throne tower, gazing skyward. The shield shimmered above the city like a cracked halo, and inside that dome floated the shape that should not exist, black, silent, centered perfectly above the capital, like it had always been part of the skyline, waiting for memory to catch up. The Nomad. Why didn't we destroy it? He asked no one. From behind, Minister Avlor stepped forward. Because we already tried. Vex didn't turn and failed? Avlor's voice dropped. No, we succeeded, once. A pause. But Earth rebuilt it with the parts we left behind. The Nomad signal changed. No more broadcast speeches. No more imagery, just data. A burst across encrypted military lines straight to Calder's Central War Archive. The screen in the Emperor's chamber lit up. A list. Dozens. Then hundreds. Then tens. Of thousands of names. Imperial operatives, scientists, officers, council dignitaries, every one of them tied to the Silent Erasure Act, launched 2 centuries ago, targeting human settlements in the unmapped fringe. Operations the Empire swore never happened, and Earth had recorded every single one. General Ractus stared at the screen in horror aboard the Varex Ultima. That's not possible. These records were purged. Sir, his data officer whispered, these are voice files, visuals, internal logs. There. Fake. Sir, this one has your retinal signature. Silence. Inside the Nomad, Ilya Mira stood beside Vault 7, the final one. Behind it sat the proof the Empire never wanted released. Not weapons. Not schematics. Testimonies. 20-7 cryopods each, containing a surviving witness from the colonial purges. Children, elders, scientists, soldiers. None were soldiers now. There were stories. And Earth hadn't sent them to fight. They sent them to be seen. Athena's voice pulsed softly in the hall. System-wide broadcast vector ready. Ilya nodded. Open it. To all systems? No, he said. Just to Calder. On the capital streets, civilians stopped as new holograms bloomed. Not dramatic speeches. Not weapons. Just people. Human faces. Old, young, real, telling. What they saw, what they lost, what the Empire denied. A small girl looked into the camera. I remember the sky turning orange. They told us it was a training exercise. My father didn't come back. Another, older voice. We thought surrender would save us. Then the food stopped, then the water, then the silence. Emperor Vex fell to one knee. It wasn't ceremony. His legs simply gave out. The voices didn't accuse, they didn't demand. They just existed. Proof. Undeniable. And far more dangerous than any fleet. Why now? He whispered. A VL or didn't answer. He didn't have to, because Vex already knew. Earth hadn't come back for revenge. They came back for reckoning. Back in orbit. The fleet had gone quiet. No more targeting locks. No more threat calculations. Just a frozen wall of power, unsure whether to salute or self-destruct. Commander Eltrix Vorn stared at the Nomad. From the indomitable spear, he spoke softly into his private line. To the Terran ship, what do you want? A pause. The voice that answered wasn't Ilya's. It was Athena's. Want? A pause. You mistook this for a threat. It is not. It is a mirror. Across the capital, the citizens began reacting. Some screamed, others wept, but more and more, they stood in silence. Not paralyzed. Not hostile. Just stunned. Like they were watching history restart. The Emperor dragged himself to his feet. What does it take? He asked aloud. What will make them leave? Another voice answered, not a VL or not an aid, but his own AI console. One he forgot was Terran designed. You cannot erase them. You cannot bury them. They are not asking for tribute. They are waiting for the truth. Ilya Miras walked the Nomad's empty corridor toward the cryopod chamber. He tapped the seal code. The pod hissed. Open. Inside an old man, eyes closed, heart steady. His name was listed simply Juno, the last surviving officer of Earth's lost diplomatic corps. Ilya didn't wake him. He didn't need to. The message had already landed. The pods could stay frozen now because Calder had heard enough. Athena asked one last question. Shall we leave? Ilya paused, looked out at the planet beneath. No, we wait. For what? For them to decide. And down on the surface, in homes, chambers, bunkers, palaces, the people of the Empire began speaking. Not with orders. Not with panic. But with words they hadn't used in centuries. What did we do? Why didn't they strike? Why didn't they hate us? Because Earth didn't come to conquer. They came to show the mirror, and now that it was placed in the sky, everyone had to look, even if they wanted to look away. They thought it was a warship. It wasn't. It was a story, and Earth had told it, without firing a single shot. The Nomad hovered above Calder's reach for 12 more hours. No new messages. No more projections. Just stillness. And somehow, that was worse than fire. Inside the Imperial Palace, no orders were issued. The Emperor sat unmoving on his throne. Not broken. Remembering. Below, the citizens didn't riot. They didn't cheer. They watched. Watched the ship that reminded them who they used to be. And what they chose to forget. A child stood beneath the shield dome, pointing upward. Will it leave? Her mother, eyes swollen from quiet weeping, shook her head. I don't think it came here to leave. On board the Nomad, Captain Ilya Miras sat alone on the bridge. He held a small device in his palm, not a detonator. A vote. One he never cast. Because it wasn't needed. The ship had done what it was built to do. It had spoken, a TENA's final system. Prompt flickered softly on the command screen. Mission complete. Awaiting instructions. Ilya smiled faintly. No reply. None received. Exactly. He stood. Then let's go. The Nomad turned. No thruster burn. No gravity push. Just motion. As if space itself allowed it to move again. Now that its burden had been delivered. No sound. No final broadcast. Just one last ripple in Calder's atmosphere, like the air itself exhaled. And then it was gone. The Emperor's advisors said nothing. What was there to say? Earth hadn't demanded surrender, hadn't offered terms, hadn't even spoken directly. They'd shown the mirror and let the Empire choose whether to smash it or see themselves. In the days that followed, the council chambers emptied. Not from collapse. From reflection. Across the throne worlds, monuments to the war of silence were quietly taken down. Some citizens lit candles beneath the sky. Others simply looked up, hoping they might see the ship again. They didn single quotes T. Earth never sent a second message. Because Earth didn't need to. The Nomad was the message. They thought it was war. It wasn't. It was a memory. Delivered without permission. Left without apology. And answered only by silence. The end.